Thank you, Chair Leverett, esteemed members of this committee. My name is Vasu Abhiraman. I'm Senior Policy Counsel at the ACLU of Georgia. I am also an experienced election worker in the county that shall not be named. I was born, raised, and schooled in the county that shall not be named, and proud of the work that this county has done for elections, and stand by the statements made earlier by the chair of the elections board. One thing that came up was if she's unpaid, then she's donating her time to the county, right? Is that allowed under this bill? Do we have to come up with some other interpretations about how she has a quote unquote official position, therefore we're accepting that kind of thing without remuneration, that is. I want to talk about county budgets for a second. County budgets are inconsistent. They're based on the property values largely in the county and the millage rate that's set by the county. And then they fund a bunch of different things in the county. They can decide to underfund their elections office and fund a bunch of other things, or they can decide to overfund their elections office and underfund other things. We accept that design within our system, which leads to things like, what if Amazon opened a headquarters in one of our counties? Tax receipts in that county might go up, and then they end up having more money for everything they do, including elections. So as long as we have that understanding in the law now, you wonder why you make an exemption for just this one added layer of possible inconsistency, or perhaps something that would level the playing field, the money that actually would address the already built-in inconsistency in the counties and how they raise money. One of those inconsistencies that we'd end up with this bill is that sheriff's departments can raise money directly. And in fact, the legislature blessed the idea of creating tax credits for sheriff's departments, and they accept the money directly through foundations. A list of qualified foundations was released 1 month ago by the state of Georgia. They include counties like Burke County, which is in Senator Burns' district. They include cities like Americus, Dunwoody. Again, they're receiving this money directly. And let's think about county budgets. If it all comes from the same pot, let's say someone donates to the sheriff's office, the county ends up having more money for everything because of that. If someone donates $2 million to the library system in DeKalb County, I just named it, right? If they donate $2 million to the library system, that's less money the county would need to allocate there and more they would have for other uses. It just feels very inconsistent here to pick this one function when we put it on counties that set their own millage rates, that allocate different amounts of money to their elections offices, and then have their elections offices spend it in different ways. If we're going to be honest about how counties operate and the fact that we leave elections a function of the county, we would be honest about how this is an inconsistency that doesn't make too much sense in the zero-sum game of county operations. I want to point out one specific line. I think it's a line that's meant to exempt in-kind donations and services. Lines 39 through 40 in section E, it says, it shall not apply to certain exempted donations. It says goods that have a nominal value of less than 200. I don't think that makes a lot of sense. I think we're going to run into things if we keep that language in there. For example, a number of voting locations lost power a couple of years ago, and there was talk about private industry coming in to supply generators for those locations. I think that would be above $200. So I would at least raise that limit. But what I would do is actually exempt in-kind donations and goods. I don't think that it goes towards what we need here. Here's another example. If you want a county like DeKalb or Fulton to experiment with making the days a little less long, right? Betsy Kramer, longtime poll manager, said the days were long and that's why she doesn't do it anymore. If you want them to experiment with shifts and different logistics in that way, what if a UPS or an Amazon or a Delta, places that are good at logistics, what if they wanted to, donate their time and consult and create that kind of innovation for maybe shifts for poll workers? I think that would be most probably outside the county budget, outside what the county would be willing to fund, but it leads to innovation in our system. back to the tradition of this country with different states and laboratories of democracy, experiments with what works better. If you dry up this grant funding, you're gonna have less experiments and innovations in what will work better for our system, like shifts for poll workers. And again, as a longtime election worker who's worked at different levels, I would definitely encourage that kind of innovation. With that, I will yield for any questions.
I think you have a question, or perhaps Representative Maynard's concerned about her photo on your website again.
Thank you, Chair. I think that the speaker brings up a really good point, because on line 29 and 30, it says, and I'm thinking about the volunteers, because it says shall solicit, take, or otherwise accept from any person a service is one of them. And then it says in support of performing his or her duties. So I'm reading that directly as the election workers, the county is soliciting their services. And when they perform the service for free, it's in support of performing his or her duties. I do see where that is troublesome.
Right.
Thank you.
I appreciate the question, Representative. I'm betting that the bill sponsors would point to lines 39 through 41 and the exemptions that were created. For example, services provided by individuals without remuneration, that would cover many of these instances. But I would be careful here. I would be careful here, and I think I would use more expansive language that would exempt in-kind donations, period, whether they're goods or services. I don't think that those kinds of donations are what the intent of this bill is getting to. But again, we oppose the bill and don't think you should advance it.
All right, thank you.